Joining us now by Zoom is Michael Lawrence, the Chief Advancement Officer at Beit Issie Shapiro. Thank you for being here, and hats off for all of the very important work that you all have done. You know, we know there's such a large percentage of people with disabilities here, whether born with them, injured in the Army and whatnot. We know since October 7th, a lot more people are coming home with these types of injuries. Explain why what you're doing is so important.
Well, thank you very much, and it's wonderful to have this opportunity to share what we are doing. Indeed, I mean, globally, the World Health Organization tells us that there's more than 1.6 billion people in our world who have a significant disability. That's a huge number. In Israel, perhaps 1 in 5 people have a disability. And of course, as you've already mentioned, since the war, we've had approximately 15,000 IDF soldiers now who are coming home with a disability. And this is a huge challenge. This has been a time of crisis for Israel over the last almost year and a half. And people with disabilities, we know from research done, really do suffer from anxiety and trauma during crisis, during times of instability, much more, even 5 times more than the general population. So while Israelis in general have faced enormous upheaval and trauma, for people with disabilities, physical, intellectual, developmental disabilities, the challenges are really quite significant. And Beit Issie, with its 45 years of experience in terms of developing therapies and models, has been able to step into that space and really provide some help and some support and some solutions when it's really been needed.
How have you been able to, continue? You've had services, like you said, for 45 years, but now we're seeing more numbers. Mental health professionals are spread very thin because we're at alarming levels. A study just came out just on the PTSD numbers within Israel. So how are we able to reach everybody in these times?
So what Beit Issie has done is it's taken what it has a good reputation for doing and a strong name in doing, and we've tried to do what we've always tried to do, which is scale our expertise. For examples, we have been leaders in the world of assistive technology and bringing communication devices and innovations into the world of children and adults who have difficulty speaking or actually can't speak with their physical voice. We've now taken that technology and the experience we have in the world of making homes into smart homes. We're now bringing that to soldiers. We are working now every week. Just last week alone, we had about 20 soldiers approach us for help as they move from hospital to continued rehabilitation, but in their home. And we're helping them now to communicate through the technologies in which we have expertise and to make their homes accessible for them. We believe very much that these soldiers and all people with disabilities, we want them to have the most significant independence and quality of life that they can have. And if we can bring the technological expertise, the therapeutic expertise that we have into their lives, that's what we aim to do. You mentioned mental health. There's a real crisis there. And we found during the war that there's a real significant gap in services for people with disabilities around mental health. All of us need mental health services at various times of our lives, and that goes too for people with disabilities. So Beit Issie will be launching very shortly a residency center, an internship center, so that psychotherapists and psychologists will learn how to work also with people with intellectual and developmental disabilities.
Right. I mean, it makes so much sense. You can work on your, physical limitations, but sure, emotional and, things that could come up during that healing process is so important. But also you're doing things like doing leaderships for young people, leadership programs, teaching them skills so they have a purpose for their lives. Tell us about that.
Well, we have at Beit Issie Shapiro not only therapeutic services, but we also have a leadership center. What does that mean? We bring together and we mentor groups of both youth and adults with intellectual and other disabilities, and we teach them. In fact, we learn a lot from them. They're really leading us. How do we build an Israeli society that is the kind of society that we all want to see, a society that is accessible and inclusive of everyone, people of all abilities. So one of the examples during the war is that we have this tremendous group of youth, aged 13 to 15, who discovered that most of the bomb shelters, the public bomb shelters in Israel, where people run within a short amount of time under missile fire with sirens blaring, these bomb shelters are inaccessible. And they also found, when they went around the communities in Israel and around cities, they found that there was no resource for people to learn which bomb shelters, which missile shelters are accessible. So they worked really hard to speak with leaders in the community, with council members, with municipal leaders, and say, hey, folks, a good percentage of your community are people with disabilities. How can we make it easier for them to be sheltered and to be safe during wartime? A tremendous initiative by the youth themselves, and Beit Issie Shapiro was there to mentor them and help them reach these kinds of goals that they had for themselves.
Wow, so important.
Very, very inspiring.
You know, you think about it, yes, a lot of homes now do have, private safe rooms, but it's true, you have an alarm. You can't go in an elevator. A lot of them are in the basement. I myself go down with my kids, a lot of flights of stairs. You realize there's a whole segment of the population that, is in danger with not having things be accessible, for sure.
100%. And what happens then is that they say, well, we just won't leave our homes. And then a process of social isolation begins, as we saw during the COVID pandemic. Someone in a wheelchair or someone who is hard of hearing doesn't hear the siren, for example, begins to say, I'll just stay put. Socializing, I won't be able to do for now. And that's complicated, and that's also painful.
Part of the also the mental health challenges that maybe one day it will count as a disability, since so many people are suffering it, and we're now actually giving it a name. So thank you very much, Michael Lawrence of Beit Issie Shapiro.
Thank you so much.